Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wildhorse adoption program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon. Good morning, friends. Welcome to my podcast. It is Friday, October 3rd. I have to walk around our old stove. That's on the porch. So some big news this week. But first, let's do the preliminary stuff. It is about 8 a.m. The sun is, hand width on the horizon, a little more true east this time of year than northeast in the summer and southeast in the winter. I am a little late feeding the horses. Usually I get out there around 7, but this was intentional. So pardon me while I turn the water on to the barn. Howdy again. Oops, leave that open so I remember to shut it off. Anyway, that was intentional because I've been overfeeding them a little bit and I want them to clean up their hay before I give them more hay. You see what a beautiful morning it is? There's the sun coming up. And my trainer's coming today, at least I think she is. It's been a while due to traveling plans for both of us, and there was one day that one of us had to cancel for some reason. It could have been rain. Who knows? We have been getting more rain. I'm going to turn you around since I seem to be in the dark now. Point you down the road. We've been getting periodic rain all week, and this has been great. It's also cooler. The rain means that Bragi is a little bit, Bragi, my younger Mustang, if you're new here, is a little bit anxious when it rains. And I think it's just, it's hard to hear things, and horses are very reliant on their hearing and their sight to watch out for predators. We do have predators around here, but nothing that's really a threat to horses. We do have mountain lions, but these are big horses, and I think mountain lions would choose for much easier prey, such as goats or people's pets if they let them outside. Anyway, however, 50 million years of evolution isn't going to stop that. So I've been working with Bragi a little bit on getting him to be a little bit more peaceful in his stall and less reliant on Odin for comfort. Odin, my older Mustang. I suspect, since I don't see them, they're in the round pen, not in stalls, that they have indeed finished their hay. Knitting news, new projects. I'm getting close to some old ones, but there's only so many hours in a day that I can knit. And I've had to kind of let go of the idea of a schedule of knitting things. I have one finished object for you too, and I'll talk about that in the knitting portion. Can you see O through the doors? They're both there. Bragi's on the left. He's just hard to see because he's dark colored, but he's standing sideways with his nose pointing to our left. And he just walked out of the frame. So I'm going to get to feeding, and then I'll see you in the knitting segment. Good morning. Welcome to the knitting segment of my podcast. I hope I have the lighting right. I have been podcasting for, I think, 3 years now, and the lighting has always been a struggle for me. Part of it is I don't have a lighting setup, but I'm not a professional. So let's just get on with it, shall we? What am I wearing? I am wearing two things that probably don't match, but I want to show you this cowl. This is the Halloween mystery cowl knit along from last year. And I'll take it off so you can see it, but I want to show you the shape of it. So it's like I almost call it a mini poncho, but it's got this, it goes around your neck like a circular cowl, but it has a shape to it like a shawl. So I really like that. But I will take it off and show it to you, and then we'll talk about what I have underneath it. And this is why it doesn't match, because it's a colorwork sweater. But with this cowl on, so this was the first clue. The second clue was a textured section. And then this is by Stephanie Lotven of Tellybean Knits, and she always does these really fun things. I always learn a new technique. So witches hats, kitty cats, kind of the constellation section, potions in this section here, and then I'm gonna have some black pumpkins here, and then an edging. So super fun. It's the right time of year to wear it. It's a little warm yet because I just came in from the barn, and barn chores always make me a little steamy, I guess. So, and then this sweater, I finished it earlier this year. It's a baseball shirt length sleeve. I mean, I kind of intended, the pattern itself is really a short sleeved pattern, but I decided I had extra yarn, so I decided to add to the sleeves. This is also a Tellybean Knits or Stephanie Lotven pattern from her book, Knit Self-Strapping Yarn Happy or something like that. I'm trying to see if I have the book handy, and I should, but it's not coming out. Oh, I do see it. I've showed this before, so pardon me. Knit Happy with self-striping yarn. So I've knit 3 patterns out of this. Well, 2 patterns. This one I've knit twice. And I wear the other one a fair amount also. But I really like it. Well, since I had my chair out, I should have just stood up and showed you what it looks like. So it has a colorwork. It's all over colorwork. It has this kind of pattern here. Hopefully you can see that. And then the bottom has this nice detail. And the sleeves are very, very similar. You might recall that I was kind of complaining about the neckline being a little wide, but actually I like it. So I'm not going to do anything about it. It sat on my shelf for a long time, kind of waiting during the summer. I never did find the matching yarn, scrap yarn, left over from this to add to the neck. And then I wore it earlier this week and thought, oh, no, it fits just fine. Thank you very much. So that's what I'm wearing. I'll have links to those patterns in my show notes. I hope you have a nice project and something nice to drink. I'm working on my second cup of tea. It's green tea. Finished object. So these are the island socks. This is a K. Jones pattern. This is for one of her patron patterns, and this was inspired. If you watch Bakery Bears, you'll know that they have been doing a historical show about Holy Island and kind of the Viking influence on England and Great Britain. And this sock pattern was inspired by that. So here is the pattern, and I'm sorry, it's available only to patrons. But you know, if you're an experienced sock knitter, you can figure this out. It's not a difficult pattern. It's just striping using 4 different colors. I cast on September 1st when the pattern was released, and I bound off September 27th. And if you follow me along, you know that I'm not a monogamous knitter. I knit a lot of things simultaneously. Usually I work on 3 projects in any given day, if I have time to knit in the middle of the day. Or more typically, it's just 2 times. I knit first thing in the morning before I go to work for about an hour usually, and then I knit in the evening when I'm winding down. And that can be 2 hours sometimes, but a lot of times it's an hour or an hour and a half. So that's my knitting. I knit more on weekends, of course. But I talk about each work in progress every week, and then all of a sudden they're all done. All of a sudden a pair of socks is done. So not all of them. Let me talk about the new Halloween cast-ons, and I will have a spoiler, but I'll talk about that. I'll let you know in case you are doing the same mystery knit along that I am. But first I'll talk about more socks. So this is in a bag made by my mom. It's a quilted bag made with batik and hand-dyed fabric. This is another Kay Jones pattern that is also a patron pattern for the what am I trying to say? Sockoween is what the Bakery Bears call it, and it's a 3-color sock, and it's basically a broken rib. I am using the same yarn that I did with these socks because I had so much left over. I use Chowgu red lace needles. I use size 0, and I typically knit a small size. This pattern, the Spooky Kooky socks, happens to be written for DK, but I'm not a huge fan of DK socks, so I just adjusted the pattern for fingering weight. And this is what I have so far, and I just lost my beginning of round. Okay. So you can see there's a little pop of color. It's a 1x1 rib, and then there's this broken rib pattern. And then the heel will be, I think I'll do it in this color. I should have enough left for that. And then for the toe, I am going to use, I think, this bright pink. So I haven't got very far on this. I'm going to make these probably, there's 12 rounds in the cuff, and I have done 15 rounds on the leg, and I think I might do another 15 rounds. So the beginning of round is a charm I want to say I got it from Rowan a while ago, and it says, "I smell children." So it's a Halloween themed one. Kind of creepy. I think it's Grimm fairy tale having to do with a gingerbread house or something like that. That is that project. So working on that. I have been able to do some knitting in the middle of the day lately. So that is making these socks kind of go along. Here's a picture of the socks. This is what they look like if you are interested in duplicating kind of a similar color theme. So it's pretty. Kay Jones writes very easy to follow sock pattern. So if you are new to sock knitting, I highly recommend it. Her socks. She has a lot of paid for patterns too. So even if you aren't a patron, there are plenty available on Ravelry. Okay. I am going to get to the spoiler part of this podcast. So first I'll show you the bag and I'll tell you what the project is, and then I'll give you a countdown. So this bag, my partner made it, Randy. He has an industrial sewing machine and he has access to scrap fabrics. This bag, he made this for Christmas for me one year, and the handles are a belt that he had, I think, in high school or something like that. So I am knitting another mystery cowl. Today's October 3rd, so the third clues come out. We do know it's shaped like this if you are knitting along. So I am going to show you my progress. I am nearly, I only have about 4 or 5 rows left of clue 3, which I will finish at some point today. So I'll give you a little countdown, or should I show you the yarn? It's 6 colors. I'm not going to show you the yarn. I have shown it before. So I'll give you a countdown. So if you don't want to see it, 3, 2, 1, I'm going to show it. Here it is. So far. And I won't talk about it. I'm just going to show it. It's hard to see the last part of what I'm doing. I'll try to stretch it out a little bit. So new technique here, new technique in this in clue 1 and clue 2. Okay, I have put it down. If you had your eyes closed, you may return safely without any spoilers. So I'm doing a good job of keeping up with it. I don't anticipate being able to do that for the entire knit along, and I'll talk about that in the life stuff segment. What else am I working on? I have my ghost horses. I'm working on the sleeve. Let me show you the sweater. It's colorwork sweater, all over colorwork sweater. I have the body done. Working on one of the sleeves. I know I've showed, oh, the picture does exist. This is what the pattern looks like. It's Caitlin Hunter. I really love her colorwork designs. Sometimes, this pattern came out quite a while ago, and there are some, she doesn't have a yoke measurement in the schematic, and that kind of bugs me. So I've tried it on. I'm also aware of approximately how deep I like the yoke. I'm trying to find the page that I was on. Okay, this is in a bag that I crocheted earlier this year. This is the Float Tote, patterned by Love and Stitches or Nitty Natty, and this is where I am. So this project has sort of started hibernating. I may have more time to work. I'll work on it this weekend for sure. The yarn, I forgot to talk about the yarn in the socks, but the socks, those are a Hue Loco colorway based on a chicken. I don't think I have the labels anymore, so I don't recall what it is. Anyway, so here it is. This is Spin Cycle yarn, is the darker color, the main color. The contrast color is a Brooklyn Tweed. They are 2 different weights. The Spin Cycle is, I believe, a sport weight. The Brooklyn Tweed is a fingering weight. So here is where I am on the sleeve. So I have, I don't know where my counter is, so I can tell you how much more sleeve. I think I'm about halfway done with the sleeve. So this is the long sleeve version. I have plenty of yarn, so that's my plan. The other thing I will say about Caitlin Hunter sweaters, that you do need to have some ease in them. Otherwise, it's almost like wearing a straight jacket if you like your sweaters a little bit fitted, which I do. I don't like mine very sloppy, so when I tried it on, it's a little snug here in the shoulder and arm. I think it'll be okay. I will block the bejeebers out of it. So that's that project going along very nicely. I'm using Chogu red lace needles. I'm using size 5 for the color work, US size 5, which is bigger than what the pattern recommends, but it does say if you need to go up a needle size, go up a needle size. And I tend to knit quite tightly in color work, so I have done that. And it works out much better. Another project that is getting close is my Love Note sweater. And this is also a bag made by my mom. This is a simple drawstring bag. Penguins on one side, polar bears on the other. This is a hand-dyed yarn, fingering weight held with mohair. The Love Note sweater is a tin can knits sweater. So I'm getting pretty close to the finishing this sleeve. I have divided the remainder of the yarn, so I have this much left for that sleeve, and I may only do like maybe 3 rows of ribbing. So I don't know what I decided I was going to do for the number of sleeves. So I think I'm going to do another about 20 rows of sleeve, and then do the cuff, and then I'll start on the next one. So this one actually could be finished before the ghost horses, and I'm using a US size 10 6mm needle for the main body and sleeve, and then the ribbing. I think they're Chogu red lace needles in like size US size 7, so 4.5mm. And for the ghost horses, the ribbing is a 2.75mm needle. So those are those projects that I'm continuing to work on. I plan to work on this weekend. I did accidentally cast on the Talvinen sweater. This is another colorwork sweater I've talked about before. It's fingering weight. It's another Caitlin Hunter pattern. And the reason why I say I accidentally cast it on is because my mom, my sister, and I Zoom nearly every weekend. And I grab a project to do that. Well, I grabbed this bag made by my mom instead of the bag that has garlic, the garlic motif bag. This one's lined. So really like it, drawstring bag. Anyway, the other one, the project that I meant to grab, I'm making more progress on, and that is the So Faded by Andrea Mowry. I have not knit on it, so I didn't bring it. I should have that in the show notes. Anyway, this yarn is a hand-dyed yarn, 3 colors. So this is the contrast color. This is an accent color, and then this nightshade is the main color. So it's really these two. So this is going to be the bird, and this is the main body of the sweater. And let's see if I can do this all together now and get it so you can see it all. So I'm just cast on the ribbing. So that's all I have so far. These are clover needles, and they're 2.75 because my other 2.75, my favorite ones, my Chogu red lace ones, are occupied with the ghost horses, although they're not really. So, but I'm going to change to a different size needle once I start the color work. Excuse me. So I have a US size 3 here, and then I also have, I think this is a US size 4 that may be what I'm going to do. Yeah, US size 4. So 3.5 millimeters, which I'll probably do the color work on. So This yarn is the Kentucky Derby by Woolen Women. So I love it. And I'm looking forward to working with it more. But, you know, my plan is that I'm going to finish Ghost Horses, and then this one's going to have higher priority. So I am wondering if I'm right about, hopefully she has, this is a more recent pattern. She still doesn't have, in the schematic, she still doesn't have the yoke depth. So she has arm length, she has the chest measurement and the length from armpit to the bottom and the sleeve circumference, but no yoke depth. So, and I think that's important to have a good fitting sweater, is to have the yoke depth, because I certainly knit to pattern, and Ghost Horses has been, I've started that more than once. Ghost Horses, I've made it too small because it didn't have the yoke depth, and I wasn't real clear on what I wanted the yoke depth to be. All that to say, that's the knitting projects. I do have several that are hibernating. I have worked on my Scrappy blanket. It is the 100 Acre Wood blanket. Also, it's a mitered square blanket by Kay Jones. It has much smaller squares than the normal. I think the other one is the Coziest Memories by Kemper Ray, which is a free pattern. But I think that one uses about 5 to 8 grams of fingering weight yarn per square, and the 100 Acre Wood blanket only has, I think they're like 3 grams. Anyway, so moving on to gardening. We haven't had a frost yet. We typically don't get our first frost until about November. So our cold season is typically November through April. Sometimes mid-April, but sometimes we get frost in late April and May. So harvesting a lot of tomatoes. I have been mostly chucking them in the freezer. A lot of zucchini, of course, given some of those away. I have cut them up and put them in freezer bags to stick in the freezer, because apparently, I'm going to test this out. Like for stir fries, it doesn't really matter if they've been frozen. It doesn't change the texture that much. We'll find out. I've also grated a bunch and stuck in the freezer for zucchini bread, zucchini pancakes, all things zucchini. I've also spiralized zucchini and stuck that in the freezer as well. So we should have plenty of summer vegetables to last us through the winter. I've also made some tomato sauce. I used a recipe. It's a fresh tomato sauce. And what's interesting, I'm trying to remember to link the video in the show notes, but it's by this chef named Kenji, I believe. And what he does that's very interesting is that he puts in a tomato leaf, like from the plant. And you don't eat it, but it gives it an earthy, it grounds it a little bit. If you've had fresh tomato sauce before, you know it can be very, very bright. And it may need something for a little balance. And I think that putting the tomato leaf in there and stewing it with it is a stroke of genius. Try to remember that. Maybe I'll put that on my notepad here, Kenji video, in case you are interested in that and how to use your tomatoes. Green tomatoes, of course, there are plenty of green tomatoes. They do still ripen on the counter, but there's another video, and I'm going to write this down, also is, what's it called? My Italian Grandmother Cooks Something. And Italian grandmother. And she is a very charming Italian grandmother who lives on the East Coast somewhere. I want to say somewhere around New Jersey. I can't remember how I found her. I was probably searching for a recipe for something that's kind of unusual. But she has a cooking video show, and recently she had pickled green tomatoes in olive oil. And I thought, oh, well, and it's for antipasto. So I thought, well, I have plenty of green tomatoes. So I'm going to make it. And so I have that started on my counter. It's a 3-day process. It's very simple. I mean, the first day is probably the most labor intensive, where you are cleaning the tomatoes and mixing up a vinegar solution for them to marinate in overnight. And then the next step is even simpler. So sort of draining it and then letting it kind of concentrate. And then you pack it into jar. Tomorrow I will pack them into jars and top it with olive oil and stick them in the fridge. What else? Gardening stuff. So transitioning some of the squash out. That one plant that is a squash plant that I complained earlier that had a lot of male flowers on it. It has a lot of male flowers on it. I've gotten one fruit from it, and it was a scalloped squash. Very tasty, but only one fruit. Everything else is, we had a hot spell while we were on vacation, so some of my plants didn't do very well because I was thinking they would not need watered, and I didn't ask the house sitter to water them. So she didn't, because I can't blame her for that. So I'm hoping still to get some green beans. We'll see if they survive. Harvesting lettuce. The lettuce is doing beautifully. I transplanted some onions not too long ago that will overwinter. The kale I'll have to cut that back and that will sprout and overwinter. Started some indoor stuff, like mostly herbs. And I brought the peppers in from outside. So I haven't got a lot of peppers, but it's just fun to have those. That's what's going on in the garden. And life stuff. We got a new stove. So you saw me in the introduction, or in the walk out to the barn, you saw me have to kind of make my way around the old stove. The old stove is a very nice stove. We have propane here. It's a Wolf, so a very high-end stove, but like everything else, they wear out. And that stove is probably at least 30 years old. It's probably the original appliance in this house that was built in the early 90s. And it was just getting to a point where when we first moved in, we had a repairman out because one of the burners didn't work. Sometimes the burners kind of spark when you're like a burner you're not using sparks when you're trying to use a front burner. And then the oven takes a long time to ignite. And more recently, it was taking like a half hour. And that's, you turn on the propane and the pilot light and it would go woof, after a certain amount of time. I mean, we thought, oh, well, is this going to blow the door off the oven eventually? So we thought, okay, it's time to fix it or replace it. The repairman we had initially when we first moved into this house 6 years ago, he said, I wouldn't put any more money into this. So, okay, we limped it along for another 6 years and certainly got our use out of it. We got a Frigidaire. It has a lot of different baking modes, I think. So it has the typical 4 burners, and it has kind of a griddle thing in the middle that would be great for pancakes or tortillas or stuff like that. And then the oven has an air fryer feature. It has a pizza oven feature, which we tried out last night. I'll talk about that in a minute. It has sous vide if you like that. We probably won't use that. For one thing, I don't think cooking in plastic is a good idea. Like steam bake, so I'm hoping to use that today. I'm planning on making some bread or some rolls or sandwich rolls. So that and then just regular baking, and I can't even remember all the other ones. So we tried the pizza. It has a pizza. It comes with a pizza stone and the peel, apparently, which is the big spatula that you zhush in the pizza, and it gets up to 750 degrees. So, and it takes about 30 minutes to do that. Super fun. So I made pizza dough yesterday from Joy of Cooking, one of my favorite cookbooks. And then used some of that homemade tomato sauce that I mentioned, and added some shaved zucchini, because there's plenty of zucchini. I just used vegetable peeler and shaved zucchini. Added some fresh basil, kind of end of the season basil, and then put fresh mozzarella on it. And it takes 2 minutes to cook, like a 12-inch pizza. That's what it says. And then you have to do it, keep cooking it in 15-second increments after that. So I think I cooked it for an additional minute. I definitely need practice with the pizza dough. It was a little bit thick, a little bit bready. Probably could have cooked it longer, but I didn't know that either. So, but it was delicious, and I will have a picture of that at the end of the show so that you can see it, what the oven looks like, and pizza. I also baked cookies yesterday. That was kind of my test project. We had Randy bought some cookie dough for a fundraiser from one of his colleagues a year ago, and those cookie dough's been sitting in our freezer for that long. Anyway, I thought, well, now would be a great time to cook that. So I did. Those came out great. So super happy with it. Really fun. It's not great that our appliances are marching towards death at this stage. We did have to replace a pressure tank in our well house. Earlier this year, we've replaced the stove. I mean, the pressure tank, that was replaced like in August. The stove in September. And the next thing is on our list is a hot water heater that I think it runs our radiant floor heating. It needs to be replaced. So hopefully after we get that replaced next month, we will be in good shape for a while, because that gets expensive. I'm going to a conference next week, leaving Monday. I don't have to go very far. I'm just going over the mountains to Wenatchee. You might have heard on the news that Wenatchee is experiencing some big fires. There's 2 fires. I think Labor Mountain is one of them and Sugarloaf is the other, that are close together, causing a lot of smoke. We did have some rain recently, so I think it's knocked it back a little bit. So it'll be interesting what I see when I drive over the pass on Monday. So which means that I have to plan for knitting. What knitting am I going to take while I'm over there? So I will undoubtedly take the Spooky Kooky socks. I may take one of my sweaters that I want to finish up. I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up with the cowl, the mystery cowl. For one thing, the clues come out every day. I don't have a printer. I probably won't even take my little computer to download the print or download the pattern. So I'm going to lose Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'll have to print. Then I'll have to start catching up over the weekend, and then I won't catch up because I think as the cowl gets bigger, it's just harder to keep up. So that's what that is, but maybe I'll have another finished object for you next week. Anyway, that is all I have for you. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you are enjoying the fall weather wherever you are. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Take care, everyone.